Good evening, everybody. We'll give a little bit here. Just having some internet trouble, so I apologize for being late. I had to restart the network. What's up, Randy? Oh, who wants to come over and help clean some fish? A few more guys getting on. Welcome again, everybody. It's Tuesday night, last day of April. We are officially getting into May, and some of the best fishing of the season is coming up here on the Bago system, and lots of crazy things happening. I don't know about you all, but I about had it with wind. This spring has been extremely windy and has made life pretty miserable. Austin, that was a brutal day, man. I don't care what anybody says. That tested me, and we'll, I guess, kind of start at that. We had our first Bago Walleye Club tournament on Sunday, and pre-fishing for me sucked. Just blowing every day. I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I found some fish, but I couldn't really fish them because of how windy it was. It really wore me out. I spent a lot of time on the water, and really, really thought we were going to do okay out on Bago. So I told Mike, I said, here's the deal. The winning fish are out on Winnebago. It's just going to be a matter of if we can catch them or not, if we can fish them. So we decided to make a run right away in the morning. I told him, I said, we'll give it an hour, see how it goes, and then we'll go to plan B and head up to the river and get out of the wind. And I had my winter gear on, just because it was a little chilly and it wasn't fully raining yet. So I figured I'd be okay, not getting wet, but the 3 foot waves and, a couple fours here and there out on Bago, running into those things, northeast wind, there's really no good way to go north, when you're running with that high wind. So we basically go into the wave, come back and ride the saddles and go in and just zigzag all the way up towards Nina from Oshkosh. And, we made it up there. We took a few over the bow. I will say that every compartment in my boat was fully cleaned out very nicely. The carpet looks amazing. Every square inch of my body was soaked, though. By the time we got up there, I was taking them over the driver's side there, coming over the side of the boat pretty good. And I was just soaked to the gills. And yeah, I like to think I can handle the cold pretty well. But when you're literally drenching in water, it was cold. And I started telling Mike, I'm like, I need to find some dry clothes. And we fished for an hour. He hooked into a nice fish right away. I'm like, yes, we're going to get these fish to go. It came off the back of the boat. And a little while later, I hooked into a good one, ended up being a big catfish. And then it's like the fan just got turned on a little bit higher and the wind just started ripping. And we couldn't stay in our spot. We couldn't feel the bites. We were jig fishing. And I'm like, well, we're going to head back. Let's just make a pass. We'll long line, just hand line over the top of some of these shallow rocks and see if we can't get anything to eat. But, the problem when you're doing that in those winds is you're surging so much. And, when you're only fishing in 3 to 4 feet of water and you got 3-foot waves, on the bottom of those waves, you're pretty much seeing the tops of the rocks. So we just made a pass, went through it. I think we maybe had one on, or I don't remember. I can't remember. I was like disoriented to say the least. And just packed it up and headed back south. So we stopped at the mouth of the river. Thought we'd try that, but anybody that fishes that knows that when you got an east wind blowing as hard as what it does and backs up that current, typically the fishing just kind of sucks. So we tried it there for a little bit, just kind of relaxed a little bit from the drive, and I found a dry hoodie in my glove box, took off all my wet clothes on the top and put a dry hoodie on, and then put my Sims gear on. But at that point, I was already past the point of no return. I was shivering so bad. My hands hurt. I was, I knew I was talking slow and kind of slurring my speech a little bit. Hypothermia was setting in. There's no question about it. It's been a long time since I've ever been that cold, and it was just that wetness, from head to toe. My pants, from my waist all the way down to my feet, were just completely saturated. Every time I'd step, water would come out of my boots and just soaked. So we decided then to run up through Butamore and Poigan and get up into the Wolf, where we knew we had a lot of fish, and we could have, should have put a limit of fish in the boat. And we get up there, and I physically could not do anything. I couldn't hold on to my rod. Mentally, I just wasn't there. I was just trying to stick it out. I knew Mike was still, somewhat kosher, and he was doing awesome. He outfished me. Kudos to him, but I couldn't physically and mentally get into the day after that. And I just fought through. You get to that point where it's so cold that it's painful, and I was getting like nauseous. I was just sick to my stomach. And as much as I wanted to call it quits and go in, we stuck it out till the final second, and we ground hard. We lost some fish. We couldn't get them to stay hooked. I don't know if I've ever had so many fish come off. You set the hook and you have them on for a couple seconds and they just come off. We were dragging crawlers, so, no real big secret there. We just on a pot of fish. We caught a bunch of short fish. And then at the very end, kind of last result, we went back down to the mouth and just tried pulling flies and got a couple small ones there too. And, lots of fish, just not the right tournament fish. So if you guys are looking to get out and whack on a bunch from, the Rat River down to the mouth, any of those straightaways right now, even out today, Red Banks down through by Party Doll, that straightaway, and down by the Cut and at the mouth, all those spots right now, a lot of these males are filtering back through, and dragging crawlers has been working really well. So we ended up weighing 3, and I think we ended up 33rd. So not a total loss, but just disappointed in the fact that I should have been smarter, put my rain gear on right away, and just stupid mistake on my part. Never should have allowed that to happen. But it was an interesting ride back to once we, I just put the trim tabs down and just barreled through the waves on Poigan and Butamore, and got outside the mouth of the river in Oshkosh and made the corner to the north. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. Saddle up. And there was, I think, like the third wave we hit. I'm pretty certain Mike thought the boat was going to flip over backwards. we had to have been pretty close to standing straight up in the air. It was a pretty good one. And I actually got the camera out then and started recording a little bit, but seemed like we were handling the waves. The one thing about that nitro is it handles those big waves very well. But there's just nothing you can do when you're going kitty corner into those waves. Every single one of them is going to come over the side of the boat. You're getting wet no matter which way you look at it. I don't care what kind of boat you have. You're going to get wet when you're running Bago with that wind. And but it was fun. We had a good time. I got home. My core temperature was super cold. Austin. Yeah, when we made that corner to go north, it was like, holy balls. But took a nice hot shower, and I truthfully hurt the next day. I mean, my muscles were all tensed up and contracted, and it was definitely cold. And yeah, it was a tournament. We made some memories there, that's for sure. Not good ones, but definitely had something to talk about. So kudos to the guys, that did well and put 5 nice fish in the boat. You guys definitely deserved it and earned it, and my hats go off to you guys. Give credit where credit's due on that one, because that was a tough tournament. Let's see. As far as fishing reports go, there are a lot of fish out on the rocks out in Winnebago. It's just being able to get there and fish them. It's been so darn windy, and it's been really hard to get out there and truthfully fish them effectively. And hopefully this wind starts to subside here and you can get past this crazy spring. Water temperatures right now in the river today, I was when I left about 4, I was at about 57, 58 degrees. It started out in the morning at about 55, almost 56. So the water's warming up fairly good. Currents pretty decent yet. The white bass, for guys looking to get out today, they moved up into the shallows, and they're still pretty hard. I had maybe one male that was dripping a little bit of milk, but nothing crazy. Females are still pretty hard. So we're just getting started, guys. I think we're pretty well right on track as far as where we should be. Maybe a week early at best, but it's all going to depend here on what happens over the next few days. Weather-wise, if it gets stays warm, we get a bunch of sunshine. They'll start finding their spots, and they're not up there thick yet. I mean, we seen a lot of fish today, but they didn't want to eat right away this morning. I kept telling my guys, as soon as that sun comes out, it's going to be game on. And unfortunately, they had to leave about the same time the sun came out, and I went back out, and you can go watch the live video from fishing today. And I was casting Panther Martin spinners, just a white spinner, 1/8 ounce, and my fly rigs. And they were pretty thick when I found them. But what I found, I didn't see any fish. What I seen was a giant ball of bait on side imaging. And I was going down river, just kind of scanning, not really cruising real fast, just looking different spots, and seen a big ball of bait, and turned back around and went up and just kind of checked it out. I made a couple casts, and like the first cast, I got into it and hit that big giant, I'm pretty certain I could pinch the tail and hit 18 inches on that white bass. That was just a giant white bass for this system. And then after that, I think that like the 2 or 3 casts in a row, I caught fish. Decided to start the camera and do a little bit of recording. And I was getting them with the spinners and also on the fly rigs, just casting up to the shallows and working them back. I was bouncing over a lot of fish. A lot of them just weren't eating. It was kind of a weird bite today. So definitely going to be starting to get pretty busy up by Fremont. We went up as far as just below gills, and there's fish in the trees, just pretty much on every bend. In that 12 to 14 feet of water kind of was the magic depth today. But like I said, as the day progressed and that sun came out and that water went up a degree or two, I noticed right away that the fish were starting to move up towards the shallows. And everything I caught, I was fishing in probably about 5 to 6 feet of water. They weren't up super shallow yet, and should be pretty good here, over the next couple of weeks. Let's see. Bob says, "Hope all's well. Just out of curiosity, you ever cast the Salmon Hornets for white bass?" Bob, I don't, just because they're such an expensive bait. You hate to lose them on a stupid fish. Spinners are cheap, flies are cheap. I've casted, like small rip and wraps or blade baits. Blade baits, the cicadas work really well for white bass. Anything that's flashy, there's really no reason to cast a hornet or, waste a perfectly good bait on a stupid white bass. They'll eat everything else, so it really doesn't make a difference. But yeah. So, if you're looking to get out, I know there's fish all the way up. White bass are up by Wylands. Walleyes too. If you want to drag crawlers, that straightaway down from Wylands is a great spot to drag some crawlers. And pretty much every straightaway right now from everywhere that I've fished, from like Wylands down through Gills and down through Red Banks and Fremont, all the way down to the mouth of the river. We cruised that whole stretch today, and we seen walleyes in every spot. 16th ounce thumper jigs work really well. Just a half a crawler, otherwise a Carolina rig, with a 16th or an 1/8 ounce egg sinker, and just a plain hook, maybe with a gold or with a bead or something for an attractant up above, and just cast it out, let the boat go down current, and just hold your rod tip up and let those baits just kind of drag along the bottom. When you feel a bite, if they bite it good, you'll know it. I mean, they thump it pretty hard, but like this last weekend, they were just sucking on the tails. They'd come in, bite the tail. You'd feel that bite, open the bail, or just feed them out a little bit of line, and give it a second or two, reel up, and make sure they're there before you set the hook. So fun way to fish. Problem is, with crawlers right now, unless you're picking them, these things are getting crazy expensive. I think I seen $6 a dozen at one of the gas stations. That's just asinine, if you ask me. I don't know what these things are being fed, but $6 a dozen for night crawlers is getting to be just out of hand. So get out when it rains and pick some. Panfish, bluegills, and crappies and stuff. I'm waiting for the lake flies. Typically, it's always a good indication of when the crappies start biting really well is when you get those first few lake flies. And we're probably just a couple days away from starting to see them. I've seen some pictures of one or two here and there. We always used to call those the scouts before the big army shows up. So we'll have to deal with those things in the next couple of weeks for sure. And but that's always a good time to get out and start chasing crappies. Bluegills right now are in the channels, and water's coming up a little bit. It hasn't come up a super lot yet. Still be careful if you go back into some of these channels. Getting back there can be a little difficult with a bigger boat. Little boats, no problem, but just be careful. Watch the rocks and all the washed up zebra mussels at the mouths of these channels. Makes it pretty shallow. So just be careful and get out, and great time to get the kids out now and catch some panfish. Let's see, what else am I missing? There was something else we were going to talk about. I forget. Son of a gun. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, so that's really what I know what's going on the system. If anybody has anything else to add or share, I've got just got done pouring some sinkers. We lost a lot of flies today. We were trying to get into some of the wood, And yeah, when you're fishing 3 flies or 2 flies on a rig, you lose a few. And that's why I've got my workstation set up here on the bar. I got to tie a bunch of flies tonight. I just got done making a bunch of sinkers and getting ready for the next few days of catching and killing a bunch of white bass and hopefully walleyes. The plan is to fish walleyes for the first couple hours in the morning, and that's pretty much, you know, how it's been going. It seems like by about 9 o'clock, the walleye bite just shuts down. But by then, hopefully the sun starts coming up and you can start to find the white bass and go on to crushing those things. And I don't know about you guys, but you know, they are fun to catch. I don't think there's really anything we have in this system, especially when you're in the current yet, where you can go out and cast after cast after cast, have these things hit. I can't wait to go back and watch some of the video, because I was reeling in spinners today, and I would like go to adjust my glasses or scratch my head or something like that for that split second, and next thing you know, my rod's like getting yanked out of my hand. These fish hit so hard. It's fun. I mean, even if you don't want to keep any, they're great to eat. We just fried up a bunch of them this last Friday night, and absolutely delicious. People that tell me that they're gross and whatnot, gladly come over. I will show you how to clean them. I will cook them up for you next to some walleyes. And pretty much every single time I've ever done that, people tell me that they like, you know, this fish better than this one, and it's always the white bass. I try and make the fillets look exactly the same, and then let them, you know, I know what's what, but let people kind of tell me what they like better. And I'd say 9.5 out of 10 times they're liking the white bass better. So it's all really, guys, on how you clean them and just making sure you get rid of all that red meat. And they're delicious. So I have no problem stocking my freezers full of those things and doing fish fries all summer. I'm trying to get a bunch right now so we can go and do a fish fry at Piggly Wiggly in Omro, and try and promote some of that catch and cook breading, do a fish cook day, and go out there and sell some breading for the guys at the Pig. Her guys make molds for pencil sinkers. Can you share what your sinker mold looks like, please? So, John, I just got a bell sinker, you know, just a bell sinker mold from Do It Molds that I use for my fly rigs when we're casting. And then the other, black and white bass are amazing too. But what I use is I tie up my own wires. I make my own wires, and if I'm pulling flies, here, give me 1 second. I'm going to go grab some, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So what I do is I've got a bottom bouncer mold, and I tie up my own wires and make, you know, weights with a wire. And the reason I like doing this versus pencil sinkers is I can bend these and use them like walking sinkers so they don't get snagged up as much. The design of this mold, or this, you know, this weight, flows through the water a little bit better and a little bit less resistance, especially when you're pulling up or down. This thing is like a torpedo under the water. So I don't use pencil sinkers at all. And then if I'm casting, you know, I've just got a plain barrel swivel, and this is just a Do It mold. You know, typically a 3/8, half ounce, or maybe a 3/4, depending on the current. But like I was talking in my video, when I'm fishing that really shallow water, you'd think you'd want to go down, or I guess use less weight, smaller weight. But I do the opposite. Is I use typically a 3/4 and sometimes even an ounce for fishing at shallow water, because when I'm ripping those flies in that shallow stuff, I don't want them to come out of the water. I keep my rod tip down as much as possible, and just kind of start ripping through. And with that heavier sinker, it doesn't allow those flies to go up as high. But that's just on certain situations when I see that, when the fish are up really, really shallow, and then I'll put on a heavier weight just to keep the baits, the flies down. Otherwise, like I say, you rip a 3/8 ounce egg sinker, bell sinker, and that thing will just shoot right out of the water. So you try using some heavier weights once, and you'd be surprised on how much better that works, especially when you're fishing like today I was talking about in the video. Certain people, I get some people in the boat that just can't cast those long fly rigs. It's hard to do. But I find a lot of times, I fish anywhere from 5 to 7, 8 foot leads casting, and yeah, it's a little bit of a pain in the rear end to cast them, but I catch way more fish doing that because of that long lead. I think one, it keeps it away from the sinker, but it gives it more of a whipping action under the water, and allows those flies to pulse and move around a little bit better. The longer the lead is a lot better. Try an 1/8 ounce hair. Yeah, AJ, the hair jigs are great, but I'm always trying to catch 2 and 3 fish at a time. If they're biting that good, I'm putting on as many hooks as I can to try and catch doubles and triples. But yeah, if you're just looking at one after another, the spinner rigs work awesome, or an 1/8 ounce, like a small hair jig works really good. The cicadas, any type of a blade bait, those smaller blade baits, the thin fins, the cicadas. I've got some small little, the ultralight rip and wraps work really well. Any of that stuff works good. It's just you hate to lose it, when you're fishing for white bass. I try and keep everything as simple and as cheap as possible, because you're just going to catch so many fish, and typically at the end of the day, whatever bait you had is pretty much destroyed. Like today, I caught a couple pike, I caught some smallmouth, caught a largemouth, had a pike break one of my Panther Martin spinners off. So you are going to have some crazy things happen, and we always catch walleyes doing it too. You'll be surprised, and if you get into some of these fish up in the shallows, if they're not spawning yet, they're typically up there for a reason, and that's probably to chase bait fish. Especially right now, they're starting to move up into the shallows, but the reason the fish that I caught today up in the shallows were there is because they were feeding on minnows. And like I say, I got brown bass, or smallies and largemouth, and some pike as well. Not to mention a whole bunch of whiteys too, but they're not there spawning. They're up there looking for food. Other than that, if guys are, if anybody's still looking to get out, I got a couple days open. It's getting pretty full here over the next few weeks, just because we're in the prime time and everybody's looking to come up and do the white bass thing. But if you're looking for walleyes, white bass, panfish, get a hold of me, send me a message. I'll see what I got left available, and we can get you guys out. We're just getting into the heat of the summer, and getting over the crazy weather too. So it's finally starting to get nice out. Let's see. Do you have any recommendations on what type of flies, color and size, and where is best to pick them up? So Jim, I'm pretty biased with flies. I do a little bit different than what a lot of guys do. I'll just give me 1 second. I'll show you some of my patterns that I like the best. So I tie all my own, and I use probably a little bit more hair than what most guys use, and they're a little bit longer. And I put a lot of the Flashabou in. That's one thing I've kind of found, especially for the white bass, but walleyes too. They love that flash, and when this stuff is in the water, it really shines and gives a shimmer. And I was watching a bunch of the shiners today, and I put my flies up near the surface, and was kind of mimicking how the tinsel was going through the water, mimicking what the minnows were doing. And boy, it's definitely noticeable with how much that Flashabou gives a shimmer, just like the minnows. So the purple and chartreuse is always a good one, and I put some purple Flashabou today. And again, it's a dark color thing. The black and the red is always a staple. I mean, that no matter what time of year, the black and the red has always been a really good color. The purple and red with some, purple or even some white Flashabou works really well. That's a really good walleye color. And then another kind of off the beaten path one, the black and gold with a gold tinsel is another one I like. And then anything that is red and white, pink and white, blue and white, purple and white, any of those, white combinations are always good ones for white bass. The purple and white seems to do really well for me. We catch a lot of fish on those. As far as size of the hooks, I use a number 2 pretty much for everything, walleyes and white bass. Just a mustad gold Aberdeen hook. Nothing special there. I have, when we're fishing really dirty water and, we're kind of experimenting with different things. A couple colors I started trying this year, and I've had some success, but I don't know. Time will tell, I guess. The pink lemonade's another good one we use. But the parrots. I've always been a fan of parrot for walleye, which is the blue, green, yellow, orange. So I've been tying a few of these up. These have been working really good more for the walleyes. They don't do well on the white bass with them. But the last couple days, I've been trying this orange and yellow with a purple tinsel, and that's actually been catching a lot of fish. It's been doing really well, not only the white bass, but the walleyes as well. So again, I think it's, I think what really separates these from a lot of them is people will use, some of that tinsel stuff. Just grab some of it here. So when you're tying flies, you've got some of this kind of holographic hair looking stuff, and then you've got the Flashabou. And this Flashabou gives off so much more reflection in the water that this might add a little bit, but it doesn't move and it doesn't reflect and shimmer in the water like what the Flashabou does. And you've got a bunch of different colors. The purple, you've got just the plain like ice white. This is like a pinkish Flashabou. Just a few different colors that I like to do, and I put enough of it in. I don't skimp on that stuff at all. I've tried tying just straight Flashabou flies, without any hair at all, and it doesn't seem to work as well. That hair definitely gives kind of a profile of a minnow, and then you got that Flashabou that gives the shimmer and gives it a little bit more attractant. So again, just my opinion. I've made some flies for some guys. I don't make it a habit. I'm actually working with somebody right now that I might be able to have them copy a lot of my flies and do them in some pretty high numbers, just because I've never seen anybody really tie the flies like I do. There's a couple guys that are close. They either don't use enough hair, or they're not using enough Flashabou, or just I've just kind of grown fond of the stuff that I have. Doesn't mean that the other guy's stuff doesn't work, because it does. I mean, people catch fish on that on the flies from Fox River. Rachel's got a huge selection. Critters has got a huge selection. You can go there and definitely get flies from anybody. But if I was going to take a pick, I'd send you over to Rachel or Critter, and either one of those two will have plenty of flies for you to shop around and figure out what you want. And as far as size go, they're all number 2 hooks. But like I say, I use a little bit longer hair and a little bit fuller fly, just because of I like that bigger profile. And I do find, as sometimes, like today, for example, I had one fly that was catching a bunch of fish, and more so than the rest of them. And it was just a lot of the hair had gotten pulled out. Some days you will see that they don't want that big profile. They just want a few strands of hair left. And I'll take a scissors and trim some of my flies down. Other days, I'm not catching on anything unless it's got, full and brand new flies. You'll have to retie or put new flies back on, because the hair's been pulled out so much that they don't even, look at it anymore. So every day is different. You really just got to go out and fish and kind of play around with things. And that's a nice thing, I guess, about, when you're out guiding, is that you can give the people, I give people what I know is working, and then I will fish something completely opposite and different to see if we can figure out something even maybe a little bit better. So even when the fish are biting good, I will always start playing around to see, if anything else is working better. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But, if you don't try, you don't know. And I figured out and found a lot of cool techniques by just trying crazy things and finding stuff that works. So experiment. That's part of having fun, and part of being, making yourself a better angler is, kind of going off the norm and doing something different. Let's see. I think really that's all I got for you guys. Not a whole heck of a lot else happening. We've got our next tournament will be coming up here in June. In the meantime, it's just going to be a busy May of guiding, and just doing as much fishing as I can. So if you guys are out and about and you see me, say hi. Always up to share information if we're out in the water, help out as best I can. So appreciate everybody tuning in again tonight. Sorry I don't have any crazy guests or any fun things scheduled. It's just getting to be that busy time of the year where everybody's traveling or fishing tournaments, or just busy as spring. We've got the opener coming up this weekend. So if you're looking to get up north, give my friends, give Kurt a call up at Kurt's Island Sports in Minocqua, and he'll shoot you straight. If you're heading up to Eagle River, give Tadpoles a call, and my buddy up there will help you out. It should be a good opening weekend, and I wish everybody the best of luck. Enjoy it. Looks like the weather's supposed to be fairly decent, and hopefully it's not blowing 100 miles an hour. But knowing Wisconsin and it is spring, there's probably a good chance it's going to blow. That's all I got, guys. Have a good evening. Thanks again for tuning in. If you did get a chance to watch some of that fishing today, go on the front page of the Facebook page, and you can see the live video. And there's that picture of that big white bass. Curious to see what you guys think about that. That was a monster. But that's it, guys. Have a good night, and we'll catch you guys next week. Cheers.